The moment Nike finally released the Caitlin Clark commercial, it felt less like a routine brand drop and more like a collective exhale from an audience that had been holding its breath for far too long. For 2 years, fans had watched the biggest star women's basketball had produced in a generation sit quietly on the sidelines of Nike's marketing machine, while momentum built everywhere else around her. Records were shattered, arenas filled, television numbers exploded, and still, the most powerful sports brand in the world seemed hesitant, almost unsure of what it had in its hands. When the ad finally arrived, landing on Christmas Day in prime time, it wasn't just another commercial. It was a statement, a correction, and perhaps most importantly, a promise about what comes next. To understand why this moment matters, you have to rewind to the frustration that preceded it. Nike didn't just have a popular athlete in its portfolio, it had the face of a movement. Caitlin Clark had become the gravitational center of women's basketball, drawing in casual fans, skeptics, young girls, older men who had never watched a WNBA game before, and international audiences who recognized greatness even if they didn't fully understand the league's history. Meanwhile, Nike's own sales were struggling, its cultural dominance no longer unquestioned. And yet the company seemed content to experiment with signature shoes for players who, while talented, simply did not move the needle in the same way. The disconnect was glaring, and fans noticed. For 2 full years, Caitlin Clark was effectively benched from Nike's biggest marketing moments. No defining national ad campaign, no cultural reset built around her image, just quiet anticipation and vague assurances that something bigger was coming. When Nike finally unveiled the Double C logo earlier in 2025, it was meant to signal progress. The promise of a signature shoe line arriving in spring 2026 was supposed to calm the noise. Instead, it sharpened the skepticism. Teasers without substance can feel hollow, especially when the athlete in question had already proven her value a dozen times over. Fans weren't asking for hints anymore, they wanted proof. That's why the timing of this ad mattered as much as its content. Christmas Day is sacred territory in sports advertising. It's when brands place their biggest bets, alongside NFL and NBA games, when millions of viewers are already tuned in and emotionally primed. This is where icons live. This is where Michael Jordan lived. This is where LeBron James still lives. By choosing that slot, Nike wasn't just promoting Caitlin Clark, it was elevating her into a category it had long hesitated to publicly acknowledge. For the first time, the placement alone told fans everything they needed to know. She wasn't being treated like a niche star or a safe experiment. She was being treated like the main event. What truly made the commercial resonate, though, was how intentionally it echoed one of Nike's most legendary ads. Anyone who grew up watching sports remembers the Nothing But Net commercial with Michael Jordan and Larry Bird, 2 icons, a simple game of horse, escalating absurdity, effortless trash talk, and an unspoken declaration of greatness. Nike understood that nostalgia isn't just about replication, it's about energy. The Caitlin Clark ad borrows that same structure without copying it outright. The premise is deceptively simple. Someone asks, "Hey Caitlin, can you make it from there?" She steps back, she shoots, she drains it. Again and again, the question repeats, and the distance grows more ridiculous each time. What Nike accomplished in those moments was subtle and powerful. They never say she's the greatest. They never declare her dominance explicitly. Instead, they let the visual language do the work. Each made shot is an answer, not just to the question being asked in the commercial, but to the larger question fans have been asking for years. Yes, she can make it from there. Yes, she belongs in this conversation. Yes, she is that level of player. It's a GOAT-level association built entirely on implication. And that restraint is exactly what makes it effective. The brilliance of the ad deepens when you start noticing the details. The Easter eggs woven throughout that reveal a genuine understanding of Caitlin Clark's story. This wasn't a generic superstar template applied to a new face. It was carefully tailored, and fans felt that immediately. The setting alone speaks volumes. Instead of a pristine gym with controlled lighting and polished hardwood floors, the commercial unfolds outdoors on a blacktop driveway. It's raw, familiar, and unpretentious. This is where Caitlin Clark learned the game, grinding through hours of shots in small-town Iowa, far from the spotlight she now commands. Nike could have gone glossy and corporate. They chose authenticity instead. That choice matters because Caitlyn's appeal has always been rooted in relatability as much as brilliance. She doesn't feel manufactured, she feels earned. By placing her back on a driveway, Nika visually reconnects her present-day stardom with her past, reminding viewers that this story didn't start with endorsement deals or national broadcasts. It started with repetition, with missed shots, with cold nights and stubborn belief. For fans who have followed her journey closely, that setting isn't just aesthetic, it's a quiet acknowledgement of where she came from. Then there's the appearance of Lisa Bluder, Caitlyn's college coach, which might seem like a simple cameo at first glance, but carries layered meaning. She appears at the 22-second mark of the ad, a deliberate nod to Caitlyn's number at Iowa, and with the fever. That alone would be enough to signal thoughtfulness. But Nike goes further. Bluder is standing at the exact spot where Caitlyn broke the NCAA all-time scoring record. One of the most historic moments in women's college basketball history is honored not with a replay or a graphic, but with presence. It's subtle, respectful, and deeply satisfying for fans who remember that moment vividly. The tagline, "From Anywhere," operates on multiple levels, and that dual meaning is what elevates it beyond a clever phrase. On the surface, it describes Caitlyn's game perfectly. Logo range, half-court, contested, unbothered. Distance has never been a limitation for her. But beneath that, the phrase becomes symbolic. You can make it from anywhere. From a small town, from an overlooked market, from a path that wasn't supposed to lead here. It's aspirational without being preachy, empowering without being forced. It aligns so naturally with Caitlyn's narrative that it feels less like marketing and more like truth. The cameos scattered throughout the ad further reinforce the scope of her influence. Jason and Travis Kelce, representing the NFL and one of the most popular sports podcasts in the world. Michael Che, linking her to mainstream comedy and her Saturday Night Live appearance. Travis Scott, a global music icon who was present when she set the Division I scoring record. These aren't random celebrity placements, they are cultural checkpoints, moments where Caitlyn Clark intersected with different worlds and left an impression. Each of them asks the same question, and each time, Caitlyn answers the only way she knows how, by making the shot. What Nike is really saying through these interactions is that Caitlyn Clark doesn't belong to one audience. She isn't confined to women's basketball discourse. She exists at the crossroads of sports, entertainment, and culture. She is a shared reference point, a figure people from wildly different backgrounds recognize and respect. The only cameo missing, as fans joked immediately, was Taylor Swift. Had that happened, the internet might not have survived it. But even without it, the message is clear. This is not a niche star. This is a cultural one. The soundtrack choice underscores that point with surgical precision. Boys Wanna Be Her by Peaches isn't just a catchy backdrop. It's a thesis statement. Girls want to be her. Boys want to be her. That single line captures the Caitlyn Clark effect better than any stat line ever could. She inspires admiration that cuts across traditional demographics, something few athletes achieve at any level. Nike knew exactly what it was doing by pairing her image with those lyrics, letting the music articulate what the visuals already suggested. Even the subtler details hint at a broader vision. The inclusion of Cantonese subtitles is not an accident. It's a quiet acknowledgement of Caitlyn's global fan base, a direct rebuttal to the tired argument that her appeal is limited to the Midwest. Anyone who watched the Brazil preseason game remembers the surreal sight of opposing players taking selfies with her, treating her less like a peer and more like an icon. In the context of women's basketball, that comparison to Jordan isn't hyperbole, it's reality. Nike, including international language support, even briefly, signals an awareness that her reach extends far beyond American borders. All of this has fueled a growing sense of anticipation around 2026. For fans, this ad feels like the opening chapter of something bigger, a full rollout, a signature shoe launch that actually delivers. National commercials, global campaigns, sustained visibility, not a one-off moment, but a commitment. And the timing couldn't be more important, because the WNBA is heading into one of the most turbulent periods in its history. The ongoing CBA negotiations have cast a shadow over the league, turning optimism into frustration almost overnight. Fans who once felt united with the players are now questioning decisions that seem to jeopardize the league's momentum. Deals that would have been unimaginable just a few years ago are being rejected. and the possibility of a disrupted 2026 season looms large. The narrative has shifted, and not in a good